Hi, welcome to What's the Word? I'm your host, Jaime McFaden, and I'm so excited to have you here. This podcast is about all things wellness. Each week, we will focus on a word of the day, and I interview some of the most inspirational people I know and share that inspiration with you. Join me, let's learn together on What's the Word.
This is the place where I belong.
Hello and welcome back to What's the Word. Today we have a little bit different setup, if you may notice, and we are doing things a little bit different because sometimes that's just how you have to ride the wave. So I am so excited to bring our guest to you today. She is someone who I've wanted to interview for quite a while. She actually had me on one of her series before. Her name is Nicole Tsong. She is an author of an incredible book called 24 Ways to Move, correct? 24 Ways to Move. Yep. To move more. Today we're going to talk about the word that she chose, which is brave. She is an incredible author, speaker. She helps coaches, she helps clients really just create this really awesome work-life balance with these simple tips. And so today you chose the word brave, which whenever I think about brave, I think about courage. I think about facing adversities. I think about, just really going through life bold. So can you just share with us, Nicole, what does that mean to you to be brave?
Sure. Well, I love being here, Jamie. I'm so excited to be here with your audience. And I'd love to actually, one of the things I really got from doing a summit and a series on the word brave is how broad it can be and how we actually get to redefine that word for ourselves every day. So today, I think I have an awesome example from this morning because I woke up not feeling very motivated and not feeling really energized for my day. And I have confronted that many times and have a bunch of habits in place to help myself. And I do a lot of self-care like you do. And I was like, I did all my things. I still didn't really feel very good. And it was like, 8 a.m. I was like, okay, Nicole, you need a win. Get yourself a win. And I was like, I unloaded the dishwasher. And I was like, sweet. And then that, like, to me, that was like such an act of bravery for myself today. Cause like I really needed a win. And I was like, I don't, my meditation and my smoothie and my coffee and my dog snuggles weren't working today. So I unloaded the dishwasher. But I feel like if when we can realize like that can be really brave to be like, for me, it was like standing up for myself and being like, you're not gonna go into your day with this crappy attitude and mood. You're gonna do something to help yourself. Like that I think would really get more women into that place of like, oh, I don't have to do big bold things, because I have plenty of those stories too. Like I left a career in journalism. I wrote 3 books. I'm a coach now and I'm a speaker and all of these things. And so you could be like, oh, those are all these big, brave things you've done. But to me, it's like when we can remember and acknowledge like every day, it's possible to have moments of bravery and to do that. And those are really like the unseen brave moments. And those to me are actually the most important ones because we can do it for ourselves.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That you just lit my world up right now. And I'm sure that anyone watching or listening to that is going to get something because it's so true, especially, let's be real, in the last couple of years with everything going on and the state of the world and the state of what's happening inside of homes and jobs and everything else. Things are kind of constantly pivoting and crashing and whatnot. However, the mundane sometimes, like you just had said, where it's like sometimes you just have to be brave to have the discipline to show up. And then even then, like I have my non-negotiables, and you just mentioned, your dog snuggles and your meditation. And sometimes, let's be real, it just doesn't work the way that you envision it to. So then by switching that focus and having that discipline, I mean, that what a profound statement about having the courage to create your own bravery like that. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So, can you expand a little bit on, you mentioned you were in journalism. I know you've written multiple books. You are an incredible public speaker. You help so many women across the board really kind of define that bravery. And, after speaking with you on the Brave Summit that you had hosted just a few months ago, was it a few months ago? It was recently. I'm like, this is all a blur. But how did you get to where you are today?
Mm. Yeah, well, one of the things I think about the other context of bravery, and I'll share my story in that context, is I feel like over time, as I've done many things in my life, like being brave to me these days is actually being myself and stepping into myself. And I had to go through like a long journey to get to that. And that's what I work with women on, is really around purpose and to me, purpose is brave because it requires you to be yourself. And so I definitely lived a life where I was trying to make other people happy. Like I climbed the journalism ladder, which is a very specific ladder that typically ends at the New York Times. And at some, right, like it just is, everything has its own system and its own ladder. And I was like totally in that system. And I was like gunning for it. I was always really ambitious and I worked really hard and I won accolades and all those things happened. And then I had this moment when I was actually pretty young in my mid 20s where I was working on this really big project on Catholic sex abuse. And just an FYI for everyone that that's coming up. And so I had that and I was working with victims and I was talking with them about it. And it was like a huge project and it came out and we won all these awards. And I was really proud of myself. And then at the a year or so after it all began, one of my sources died by suicide. And so that was like a really profound, intense moment of like, is this really where I want to be? Is this really how I want to spend my time? Is this a life I really want? And I would say, knowing now, like my intuition was like, hell no, you're done. And I spent 7 more years in that career before I left. Right. And so I think that was that first moment where I started to understand I was sacrificing myself for my work, but I didn't really understand what that meant until much later. And then I moved to Seattle. I started doing a lot of yoga and movement practices. And those practices really taught me to connect to myself and really understand that there was like a bigger sense of self, a bigger purpose possible for me. And then I left. So I was at the Seattle Times at the time. And then I left to teach yoga full time for a period. And then during that time is when I wrote my first books, Yoga for Hikers and Yoga for Climbers. And then I started my coaching business a few years ago. And it really came from me stepping out of this constrained place and into who I really am. And I'd say a big part of it also is being Chinese American and lots of different systems where being a woman of color, like you tend to not speak up, or I have like a lot of training and like of being quiet or not rocking the boat. And so a lot of it is like, how do I keep stepping into myself, doing things that are correct for me, being a woman on the internet, like all of those things that are required. And so to me, bravery, it's like we need like the dishwasher win to have like, to have the wins of the big ones, like to have the big ones where you're like launching books or being a speaker or, speaking out about your story in your life, because I see so many women, regardless, like all women I work with, really a lot of them are hiding or trying to people please or being really scared of what could be ahead for them. And so we have to really work a lot on what does bravery look like? And it really does start with what you do at home for yourself every day. Small acts of bravery are what lead up to the ability to start to take bigger, bolder steps into your life.
Whew. Wow. I really can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you for what you're dropping right now. These gems are, talk about so relevant to our times right now. I can say myself, everything that you just said resonated wholeheartedly, coming from a very old school traditional Greek home where as a child I was the epitome of also people pleaser, wanting to do everything that I was supposed to be the good girl that I was supposed to be and keep my mouth shut, and no other woman had gone to college. And then as I got older and stepped into how you're saying these moments of bravery where your gut is going to talk to you whether you listen or not. And you said it took you almost 7 years after you heard that voice, which to anyone hearing this right now, our intuition, our gut is going to speak to us throughout our entire life. And we have that choice to listen. And sometimes it's really hard because we have this other conditioned self that can go, well, I don't think I should listen to that right now, or maybe not yet, or I don't know, maybe that's not for me, or maybe that's for this person, but not, no. And we doubt ourselves and all these other things. So thank you for sharing that. Now, with that, what would you say to someone listening right now who's getting that light bulb moment, right? Like you and I, we've done the work to say, you know what, I'm stepping into my authentic power. I am becoming myself more and more every day. And whether it's doing the little mundane dishes, right? Or whether it's taking that brave, bold step to leave a career and go start something on my own, freelance by myself. What would you say to someone listening right now that they're in that moment that you and I both have experienced, where it's like the 7 years prior to you doing it? Like, is there anything that you would say to that woman listening right now, or man, whoever is listening right now, that getting that, like, how do we tap into that gut, like, and not wait 7 years to act on it? Because I know I did the same, like very similar, where it took me a lot longer. Like I heard the voice when I was 17, 18 years old, and it wasn't until I was 25, 26 that I was like, nope, this is what's happening.
I'd say there's two key things that women really need to learn, especially around this. And the first one is actually how to build self trust. And building self trust really comes from starting to establish things that work for you. So I know like movement is a big thing for me, and people will be like, I want to move more. And I'm like, well, you have to do it every day. And so everybody gets a little hung up on that. So I'm a big fan of like 10 minutes, like just scheduling a 10-minute walk every day and do it. Like you have to do it. You can't just say I'm going to do a 10-minute walk every day, but you actually have to go do it, because the more you actually do the things you say you're going to do and promise to yourself, then you can trust yourself to do the harder things. And you have to build that muscle. Like a lot of my women are like, well, like I did it for 2 days and I did the other 5. And I was like, that's fine. Like we all miss days. The day after, go back and do it anyway, right? Because it takes 2 months or so for these habits to build, and trust is literally a habit. So you have to practice it. Like the reason I had discipline around the dishwasher is because I have the habit of taking care of myself and understanding that I needed to do something to make the day different, right? So it's like, how do you do that? So that's the first piece I would say for everyone I know and every woman I've worked with, like really is challenged a little bit in like that self-care priority place, which I know you work with women on so much. And just actually 10 minutes, that's it. 24 hours a day, all I'm saying, 10 minutes to build that trust muscle that you do these things for yourself, and you do trust that you will follow through on your commitment to yourself. And then the other key piece I'd say is actually asking for help. I was talking with one of my clients who just finished a 4-month series. She's like, I thought I needed a sabbatical to figure these things out. And I was like, you didn't need a sabbatical. You needed somebody to help you see your life differently, right? And she's like, now so lit up because she's in a big corporate job, and now she's really clear she wants to open a secondhand luxury handbag store. And like, what a change, right? But she literally would never have thought about it. And she's so excited about it. And it's not going to be right now. And she's working towards it. And she has this vision and this dream. And I see so many women, they just are like, I'm just going to sit and think about it, or I'm going to go on a retreat and figure these things out. And what I know is that there's so much help out there. Like, I've had coaches for dating, I've had coaches for my business, I have coaches for my own purpose, I have my own teachers. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like you or me, but there are so many people out there who can help you. And when I think women in general, we've been very trained not to ask for help, to go it alone, and to think that I'm just going to survive. And I see it a lot with a lot of women, like they're just surviving the pandemic. And I'm like, there's a lot of help available in the world. You can take free things. Like you can come to like a free series like I have. Like you can just do things and start to understand that there are pathways through, and there are pathways, like if you feel stuck, people can move you through pretty quick, like coaches and support. And I'm not talking about your girlfriends, and I love girlfriends, but girlfriends are for like hanging out and catching up. People who really understand how to help you activate who you are and get to that next stage, I think is just super essential. And for me at this point, I'm like, can't figure it out, hire somebody. Like I literally do like so many things. But it's a retraining, it's like a retraining of the brain to understand that there's a lot of help available. And we're so trained into being stuck or being like, this is so hard. And then, everybody around you is saying it's so hard. So we're all just going to be stuck and hard together. And I'm like, yeah, but if it was a little easier than that, like what if life felt a little simpler than you're giving it credit for?
Oh, I love that. Simplify things. Even for a perfect example, look at us today, right?
Mhm.
Producers got COVID. Child's home from school. God only knows what's happening behind that door right there. I hear the dog scratching. Sophia, can you get the dog? And we easily could have said, all right, let's table this conversation for another day. However, you and I were like, no, let's do it, right? And let's simplify it. It doesn't need to be this perfect big production. Sophia, keep her in there. But at the end of the day, this is reality, and it's all about taking those steps. So to those that are listening or watching this right now, thinking in your own mind, like, wow, I do feel sometimes stuck, or like I'm hearing that gut, reaction, but I just don't know where to get started. Just like Nicole said, number one, we have to have that self-efficacy to trust ourselves to do the things that we need to do. And essentially that's all I ever teach day in and day out. And it stemmed from me being raised in an old-fashioned Greek home where women cooked and cleaned and did nothing, towards like the outside of the home, we would say, right? And men did everything on the outside, women did everything on the inside. And so me being the first person in my family to put myself through college, to actually go get a job, to do all these things, it was really challenging. But the moment that I put my foot down and said, I'm going to trust myself, I don't know how the heck I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it somehow.
all of a sudden a teacher would appear. All of a sudden someone would, yeah, I'd meet them out and at a coffee shop and they're like, oh, do you know I do this thing? And it's something in line with what I want to do. So that is so key. And then just like Nicole said, asking for support for whatever reason so often, and I see this as well, and I will admit, as a recovering people pleaser myself, as a single mother, it can be very challenging and daunting to think, oh gosh, am I going to ask for help right now? However, that has been the greatest gift in helping me be brave. And to any of my clients I know is just really getting the support. And also, like Nicole said, reiterating, not just from your girlfriends that are going to just back you on, like, yeah, girl, I know, same thing, like, oh, this is so tough, or whatever else. Actually reaching out, like someone like Nicole, I have so much that I personally can learn from Nicole, from what she's done, from journalism. There's so many different areas. When we reach out and tap into it, you'd probably be really surprised at what is available to you because the universe and your intuition is actually connected and speaking. So, Nicole, thank you for sharing that. Now, can you talk about, because I would love for everyone that's listening to this to go and get your book or one of your books, to go and specifically the one that I just ordered on Amazon is the 24 ways to move more now, because that's something that I teach all the time. And just like you said, a 10-minute walk. It, it doesn't have to be complicated. Simplify it. But to anyone that's listening, can you just share a little bit about your books and where we can find you? And I know that you had, your Brave Summit, and I think you're going to do maybe a 2.0. So maybe we could just tap into that a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, so my book, 24 Ways to Move More, is available in all the places you can buy books. So go check that one out. And it's really designed for you to have a year of movement with 2 new kinds per month. So you can just start to stimulate that part of your brain that tries new things.
Mm.
So go check that one out. I'm really proud of it. And then you can find me at Nicole Tsong. So NicoleTsong. That's my website. It's my Instagram. It's my TikTok. It's my YouTube. It's all the places you can find me there. And then my Brave Summit in March it's going to be 20 plus incredible women talking about stories of bravery. And it's so beautiful what people share. Like really, I was so inspired by every person who came on and what they shared around their stories of bravery, whether it was in business or in their own lives, people telling stories from going through big breakups, divorces, like really interesting, fascinating realms of like the real world, the real life, and then how they pick themselves back up. So yeah, we'll have that link for you all as well because I'm so excited for the next round of it.
Oh, thank you so much. And, you know, Nicole daily is dropping and she has freebies and courses like the summit that you can take. So hear her out on this, where there are resources available. And if you are someone that has been feeling in this position right now in your life that you want to make a change, that you want to listen to that gut, that you want to do something different than you're currently doing, whether it's getting used to doing the dishes or going for that 10-minute walk or making a career change or shifting something in your life, this is why I do this podcast, is to meet incredible humans like Nicole who can come on that we got connected through a mutual friend, right? Like that is part of life too. You never know how you're going to get connected. And to be able to share your journey, to be able to share what you're doing and be a part of what you're doing as well. I mean, I'm so excited to share this. Specifically, I have a community of my Wave self care, all the people that are in my community. I cannot wait to share this with that, because so often I hear, well, if I can't do, an hour, if I can't do the 30 minutes, I'm like, no, no, no. So it's sometimes nice to just hear also from someone else that's like, I got you too. So Nicole, I want to thank you so much for joining me today, despite the chaos. And I'm so glad that you were able to unload the dishwasher and, get your mojo back, because I think let's also admit too, as female entrepreneurs, sometimes like I'm not in the mood to film the content. Sometimes, I'm just not in that vibe. And having that courage and bravery to really have the discipline to go, no, I am going to do this. Because then what do you feel like after you did the dishwasher? I have to ask this because I know I get this too. What did you feel like? Were you like ready to roll then? Were you like, all right, let's go?
I was just, yeah, because usually took my dog on a walk after, and that's also part of my morning rituals and practices. And I was just like, oh, like I'm just in a better mood now, and I can
Mhm.
walk the dog, and I had stuff to do this morning, and I could get myself clear. But yeah, before I was like cranky and mad, and I was kind of like, ugh, like who can I tell I'm cranky and mad? And then I did my dishwasher, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna be all right.
Wow. Okay, I really love this. I feel like this episode should be like, just unload the dishwasher because it is true in life that sometimes we just need to physically make a some sort of a shift, and then emotionally, mentally, it can also make that shift, which is like, I mean, I'm obsessed with going for walks. I think I take 10 walks a day these days because that's my number one go-to if I'm feeling stressed out. And walking the block is 10 minutes, like, going around, it's not a big deal, but it sometimes will just shift my energy. And I know that, a lot of clients are asking for different simple ways. So maybe it's unload the dishwasher, right? And then you're going to be decluttering a little bit and feeling a little bit more, clean and open, and that can create some space for creativity. So, with no further ado, Nicole, thank you so much. I'm so honored to have you. And is there any final words that you want to leave with whoever's listening today?
Bravery doesn't have to be scary and big and huge. It can just be small, simple acts, moving your body, unloading the dishwasher, loving on your dog, loving on your kids. Like remember that it can be really simple, and then all it has to be to me is like a win. And a win is whatever was hard today, and then you move through it. So make a win for yourself.
Make a win. Oh, okay, everyone. For those of us here, go make a win today. Nicole, thank you. This feels like my win today because, like I said, it's been kid home, chaos everywhere. Oh my gosh. And so instead of us, postponing this, I'm just really thankful for you that we were able to do this today. So sending you my love, my gratitude. Thank you to everyone for being here on What's the Word, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Thanks, Jamie.